Namaste, and welcome back to Awaken Living with Nibodhi. Today we're discussing the third of the four Purusharthas, the four goals of life. Today's discussion is on Kāma, on desire. Often, Kāma is seen as a lower emotion or a lower tendency, and in many spiritual practices or traditions, it's viewed as a negative thing, but it's not. It's one of the four valid goals of life. The actual definition of Kāma is so much more than just pleasure. It means the sweetness of life. That includes pleasure. It also includes our emotional fulfillment and our embodied awareness with the purpose of experiencing all of life to its fullest. And that includes our radiancy, our vibrant radiancy from health. It includes our sensuality. It includes our erotic and emotional intelligence and the innocence in that. Without Kāma in our life, the world is bleak, it's empty, it's meaningless, often it's intimidating. It really becomes a rather joyless existence. Life is for celebration. The Big Bang, that Big Bang that created everything 14.5 billion years ago, was the greatest and longest fireworks show ever. And it still continues to this day through us, through the dance of creation, through the dance of the trees, through the cycles of nature, and through the rotation of the sun and the moon and the swirling of galaxies and the dissolution of galaxies into black holes and every single natural phenomenon that's ever happened. That's all Kāma. That's the Kāma of God and Goddess, of Shiva and Shakti. In the realm of Shakti, in the realm of the Goddess, the Divine Mother, Divine Feminine, Kāma is the celebration and the enjoyment of life as an act of surrender, of devotion, faith, gratitude, worship. When we are in this quagmire of worldly challenges, we tend to forget Kāma, or at least we put our joy and celebration on the back burner. We say things like, we'll wait until we earn enough money to enjoy, or if we have the perfect job, then we can enjoy, or we have the dream home, or the dream husband, or the dream wife, or the dream lover or lovers, or even we say things like, I'm going to wait until I retire and then I'm going to enjoy. If we wait till we retire to enjoy, we're not going to have the strength and vitality maybe to enjoy. All of those things, the house, the job, the money, the lover, those are important. They might be important, but really it's through our joy and celebration of life that we attract, we manifest, we create our life, and we do that in the present moment, in the here and now. This ideal that we can enjoy and celebrate life only after these things have been attained creates a major disconnect in our connection to self and to the universe and to our communities and families and life. This idea creates depression and anxiety and worry and fear and stress and all these things that create discomfort and eventually dis-ease. I'm not saying that there's not a lot of challenges in the world. There are a lot. And it seems like there's more and more every day. And they're hard, no doubt. But we have a choice on how we meet those challenges. If we meet them with an open mind, an open heart, open to the possibility of joy, even in the midst of challenging scenarios, we transform these dark storm clouds of life into something like a cleansing rain. And after a storm, after a dark storm, after a powerful rain, the air is pure again. And a rainbow appears. And the sunshine comes through the dark clouds. And that's the sunshine of ourself. However, we're like salmon going upstream because so many traditions, religious or spiritual traditions, they glorify suffering. They glorify pain. They think that only if we have so much pain and if we suffer so much can we get enlightened. Only if we go completely beyond all body identification through severe penance, through severe tapas, can we reach some mystical world where there's bliss. Bliss is possible only in the here and now. There's an ancient poem that talks about this. What we find now, we will find then. If we find nothing now, we'll simply end up with an empty apartment in the city of death. Jump into experience while you are alive. Find the beloved while you are alive. We don't have to suffer to experience bliss. And even if we are in pain, we can still experience bliss because bliss is our nature. What we need to do is remove anything that's covering it up. Clean the windows. If we clean the windows, we see that the sun was always shining. The William Blake poem, The Doors of Perception, says, when the doors of perception have been cleansed, everything will appear as it is, infinite. The doors of perception are the rose-colored glasses that we see life through. But our organs of action, organs of perception, smelling, tasting, hearing, touching, seeing, these are the windows to consciousness. This is how we experience life. We've made our connection and relationship with pleasure really complicated and really confused and really diluted and distorted. We've created this dark and dismal attitude towards our pleasure. We keep it in hiding and in secret. And a large part of this is due to the religious or spiritual traditions that insist on dogmatic ways of controlling. So many of these so-called spiritual paths just deny Kāma altogether. They deny any pleasure. And there's a reason for that. It's not a good reason, but there's a reason. Because that Kāma, it's pure Shakti. It's Kundalini herself. It's the embodied, full, awakened, erotic, creative power of the universe. That creative power of the universe, when not met with humility and surrender, is overwhelming. And so, mainly, the masculine, the unembodied, the unregulated, the unawakened masculine have suppressed Shakti, have suppressed Kāma through brute control and manipulation. Shakti is difficult, actually maybe even impossible to navigate without discrimination, without guidance, and without a soul-led dharmic understanding. Because unintegrated in a whole way, Kāma often leads one down the path of hedonistic destruction, guilt, shame, abuse, which all creates more suffering in the world. And it doesn't have to be like that. Remember, it's one of the 4 goals of life that the rishis told us are valid ways of experiencing truth. The universe created the sense organs. They came with our bodies. The universe created our bodies. The universe created a mind capable of conscious awareness to experience itself through every aspect of creation. The universe created itself to experience itself. So all this beautiful creation is God, is goddess. These bodies are God, goddess. And we just forgot. In ultimate reality, only the self exists. Everything is nothing but the self experiencing self. Our experience of that gets distorted because we're not aware that we're the self. I've said this so many times before, but we have a state that I call I amnesia. We have forgotten who I am, the self is. It's that simple. Kāma is really a way back to self, and it's one of the most intriguing and paradoxical and esoteric aspects of Shakti, of nature, of the spiritual path. It sits somewhere at the intersection of desire and destruction and liberation. And to really understand it in a deep way, the best way I have experienced it is to look at it from the ancient Vedic, Tantric, yogic, and these spiritual perspectives, not religious controlling perspectives, but spiritual perspectives that want to lead us back into the supreme knowledge of self. A lot of times, spiritual traditions, even the yogic tradition, says Kāma is your sexual desire and it needs to be suppressed, repressed, all this garbage. But it doesn't just mean sexual desire. It encompasses so much more. It's our sensual longing, meaning the sense organs, the touch, the taste, the smell, the sound, and the sight. And it's that longing to experience God through them. And it's our romantic and erotic attraction. That's part of it. Shiva and Shakti That attraction is atoms and protons merging, colliding, making light into something that's infinite. It out of the nothing came the one. The one came two, two came three, and three created all things. And in that is the desire for pleasure and to experience the sweetness of life. We're Satchitananda. We're pure bliss consciousness. We are supposed to be experiencing bliss in every breath. On the deepest level, Kāma is the soul being pulled towards union with the beloved, the divine beloved. So in these Purusharthas, these 4 goals of life, Kāma is a legitimate and sacred pursuit. But without Dharma, without the desire for moksha, to be liberated from the limited perspective of separate self, that Kāma can become binding. It can create more karma for ourselves. But Kāma has a profound role in that alchemy of taking our desire and using it as pure Shakti, as a way of transcendence, as a way of awakening. Because Kāma is not shy. It's not shy of desire. It is Shakti in her raw, unfiltered current, that dance that never stops when the illusions have been stripped away. Remember, it is the desire of God, which created the universe and all the things in it. In Shakta Tantra paths, Kāma is the Shakti of creation. Without desire, nothing is created, nothing is born, nothing exists. When Kāma is used without discrimination, it binds us, it leads us into suffering, it leads us to samsara. Samsara is said to be the cycle of birth and death, but what it is more than anything is a cycle of forgetting our true nature. And if we forget our true nature, that leads to endless cycles of death and rebirth until we remember the self, because the whole goal is to remember the self. The universe is playing hide and seek with itself. It's just a game. It's just a play. We have to find ourselves. And Ali and free. We're all free when we're all free. We all do well when we all do well. So when Kāma is infused with awareness, when it's infused with awareness plus devotion and surrender, we become liberated, or at least it has the potential to liberate us. And Kāma also teaches that sexual and creative energy is the same current as Kundalini. If it stays in the lower chakra, it's nothing more than lust. But when we direct it upward, it becomes Icha Shakti. That's the will of the universe. That's the will of the divine. Icha Shakti, Kriya Shakti. It's the power of Shakti, the power of the universe, and it's her power that allows her will to manifest in and through us as us. I'm very excited to share with you Real Mushrooms, the sponsor of the Awaken Living podcast. I use their mushrooms every single day because they've genuinely changed my life. I trust them because they have 50 years of expertise and use 100% organic mushrooms, 0 grains, 0 fillers, which are found in most common mushroom products on the market. They use just real, organic, clinically tested mushrooms. Every morning, I use lion's mane to sharpen my thinking. I use cordyceps to give me the clean energy I need for the day. I use chaga to strengthen my immune system. And when stress hits, and it does, I use reishi to bring me back to center. With their products, you actually feel the difference. For the month of January, Real Mushrooms gives Awaken Living with Nibodhi podcast listeners 25% off their entire first order. Use the code AWAKEN25 at checkout to get 25% off your entire first purchase. You can find their link in the show notes or visit nibodhi.com/mushrooms to get yours today. There's another layer to this in Tantric symbolism. It's Kāmadev, the god of desire. And there's a story where Kāmadev is burned by Shiva's third eye because Kāma was disrupting Shiva's meditation. But Kāma survives no matter what. He survives in his pure essence with pure desire. It just doesn't have form. And in these tantric interpretations, this formless, this bodiless Kāma find its completion in the Divine Mother, in Kali, who teaches us that desire has a couple of options, a couple of ways that desire can go. It can be offered as a sacrifice into our fire of our own personal transformation. And or it's consciously embodied through spiritual practice, through Maituna, which is the spiritual practice of sexual union between two people. It's consciously embodied through the chanting of mantras, through manas, through the mind, through visualization of yantras, of deities, energies of Shiva and Shakti, different manifestations of Shiva and Shakti within our own bodies, within yantras, within light, and through pranayama, through breath control. So this tantric understanding is that desire needs to be offered as a sacrifice into ourself for our own transformation. And if we're staying in a physical, while we're in a physical form, it needs to be an embodied spiritual practice. That's all. It needs to be guided for a higher purpose. And when Kāma becomes sadhana, it may arouse intense desire in meditation or in life. And that's not a distraction. Especially the desire. When we do deep meditation, stuff comes to the surface. And it's a mirror of what we still have to work on, what's still binding us, what's keeping us from being free. So whether it's through meditation or just life experience, the Kāma that comes up, the intense desires that come up, if we can look at them consciously, we can free ourselves from limited desires. So we have the divine desire, which is union. And all of our actions in this world, all the addictions, all the likes and dislikes, it's actually all geared towards illusion or towards union. We're just stuck in illusion around it. So when Kāma is met with mindfulness, it does strip away these projected and romanticized illusions around life, around love, around pleasure, around our sexuality, because it shows us that life is both ecstatic. It leads us into the ecstatic, and it shows us that life is impermanent. Nothing that's been created lasts forever. And in the left-handed path, the left-handed tantric path, Vamacharya, sexual union is a path. It's a valid path, as long as it's met with a devotional presence. And in that devotional presence, it is ritual, it is ceremony. And ultimately, the goal is that the lovers dissolve the individual ego into the pure, raw Shiva Shakti. There's no clinging to the partner or to the partner's personality, to the ego. Its goal is to free ourselves from that personality. The goal is to become an expert at surfing, to riding the wave of desire into the cosmic, pure, blissful awareness of Shiva. And the Vedic psychology lens also gives a practice of constant awareness around this, because Kāma is going to challenge us. It's going to challenge the tamasic and rajasic qualities within us. The tamasic qualities are greed and possession. The rajasic qualities are lust and power and agitation. And that distorts our desire to change, to transcend. If we're stuck in tamasic and rajasic qualities, that's not Tantra. That's not what real Kāma is about. That's what the suppression and repression leads to. When we can meet Kāma with mindfulness, it transforms that rajas and tamas into a sattvic pure desire. The desire for living with authenticity. The desire for living an embodied life, an awakened life. And ultimately leading us into a state of unconditional love, which is actually the highest state of godliness. If we can actually love unconditionally, we're free. It's very difficult. It's not impossible, it's just difficult. And it requires effort. Deep down inside, every single one of us is yearning for the exact same thing. We want truth. We want freedom. We want wholeness. We want to live in unconditional love. If we seek that outside of ourselves, if we're expecting our partners to fulfill us, if we're expecting the material world to fulfill us, if we're expecting our money or our house or our government or our religion to fulfill us, we're missing the whole point. And on the tantric path, whether it's the left-handed or the right-handed tantric path, the paradox is that when we do engage in sadhana, in our spiritual practice, it brings up the shadow. And then we use the shadow work, as meditation. It's very simple. When we infuse love in our meditation, it brings to the surface all the conscious or the subconscious patterns and programs that we've been previously blind to. We didn't know were there. The purpose of meditation is to find out what we don't know about the self. And I've never met anyone who doesn't have adverse childhood experience, has trauma, has had difficult lives. We all have. We're all in this together. And so love infused into our meditation brings these unhealed, unlooked at issues to the surface so we can heal them. But what we need to not engage them with judgment or guilt or shame about them. We need to engage that shadow parts with empathy, with patience, with compassion. And that compassion gives us internal strength and courage to confront any repressed sexuality, depressed sexuality, attachment wounds, guilt, shame, abandonment. Any unintegrated part of ourselves can be transformed through mindful Kāma. From here, we integrate that desire into our dharma. And that's what will eventually lead us to our ultimate freedom from the identification with the ego. We need the ego. It helps us to pay the bills. It helps us to remember where we live, all these things. But it needs to be our servant, not the master. And when we're stuck in this lower Kāma of just survival desires, we can't transcend. So we need to bring that to the heart's sincerity with the light of awareness so we can ultimately transcend it. And in Tantra, that's the ultimate secret, that desire is not separate from the Divine Mother. And the Divine Mother is all loving, all compassionate. So if we incorporate the Divine Mother into our heart, then the desire goes from unhealthy to divine. The yogi, the yogini, the tantrika, all of these paths see the connection and links between Kāma and moksha. And if we're established in sadhana and spiritual practice, we can skillfully surf the waves of desire into dissolution, into the sunset, into experiencing her creation as Shiva Shakti that's inside of ourselves. That is the union of the divine feminine, which is the passion of creation, and Shiva, the eternal pure awareness of liberation. That is union of self. That can happen in the physical body because consciousness is in and through the body. It happens both in the physical body and in the subtle body. And both are capable of a concept called ananda, bliss. And in Maituna, in sexual ritual, that's the bliss of orgasm. And still, that's just a drop of her infinite ocean of bliss. Maha Ananda, the great bliss. What we can experience in the material world, all the greatest bliss we can experience here, is but an infinitesimal drop in the infinite ocean of what is the Divine Mother truly, what is the creation truly. And it's possible to experience that. But it requires letting go of all other things that are not that. In essence, Kāma is so much more than just lust or pleasure. It is the desire of the universe in its most primal form, in its most raw, honest form. And we get to the truth, which leads to moksha. Dharma, artha, Kāma, moksha, the four goals. It's a flow. And that only happens when we strip away the societal and religious conditions, when we dissolve the illusions that keep us bound, and we direct our energy, our awareness, our drishti, our consciousness towards the infinite, towards the origin of Kāma, the origin of everything, because we are that. We're just totally confused. Tantra and Ayurveda teach us that we can't ever transcend desire by repression or suppression. And really, this suppression and repression only leads to depression. I've met so many people throughout my life on the spiritual path who are super depressed. They're so spiritual, they've suppressed their lust, and now they're angry and resentful all day long. What use is that? We can only really transcend something by entering it fully consciously, and when the time is right, we move beyond it by merging with it itself. It's part of us. Ram Dass once said, he was asked a question about his desires, his samskaras, the patterns, the vasanas, the tendencies. how long it took him for them to go away. He had been meditating for 60 years. He took so many psychedelics. He met so many spiritual masters. He did so much mantra, so much meditation. And they asked him how long it took him for all these lower things to go away. He laughed. He said, I don't know what you're talking about. They're all still there. The only difference is all those things you described, the meditation, the psychedelics, the darshan with the saints, all of that, it gave me caller ID. And now I can see clearly who's calling, and I can choose consciously whether I pick up the phone or not. That's all. Very, very simple. We can use our pleasure, our bliss with dharmic intentions to bring the highest love frequency, the highest healing vibration and devotion to the collective consciousness. But this only happens if and when we soften, when we open our hearts, when we remember to accept things as they are. And that doesn't mean if there's an adharmic act going on, we just accept that as well and do nothing. We do accept that it's happening. We don't deny that. And we accept that we have an awareness that this thing, whatever it is out of alignment with Great Spirit, with the way, with Dharma. And we have the responsibility to speak out against adharmic acts, to be, as Gandhi says, be the change we want to see in the world. We have the best chance for creating change if it comes from a centered place within us that is filled with empathy, compassion, and love. If it's not filled with that, nothing changes. Einstein said we will not solve the problems of the world with the same thinking that created them. Not only do we have to think outside of the box, we have to get rid of the box altogether. The universe isn't a box. That's a man-made creation. The universe is an infinitely expanding circle, but even beyond that, there's no boundaries. And I'm not talking about not having healthy boundaries. I'm talking about being boundless in spirit, being infinite in spirit. From desire comes the desire to see peace and harmony and love in the world. Internally, we need to let go of all the judgments. We need to let go of the concepts, good, bad, right, wrong, holy, unholy. That doesn't mean we lose discrimination of what's dharmic. In fact, it's the opposite. The desire to make any change internally or externally must come from being in alignment with Dharma to begin with. Otherwise, there's nothing there. It doesn't ever manifest. Being in alignment with Dharma and the desire to change internally through the four goals of life, that's the true worship of the divine feminine. That's the true worship of Parashakti, the original creative Shakti of the universe. And if we can relax into being, into the awareness of what is in its pure form, we open ourselves up to Shakti's grace. That's the divine flow of energy moving through us in everything. And through that awareness, through grace, through conscious, relaxed effort, through universal desire flowing through each one of us with a pure intention, we move from darkness to light, from the illusion of death to the awareness of our own immortality as divine beings. And so, beloveds, Kāma is not merely pleasure. It's not merely desire on a lower level. It's the primal pulse of the universe, of the cosmos. It is the heartbeat of creation. It is that sweetness that drips from the fruit of life, the fragrance of a flower that blooms for no other reason except to express joy. The breathless pause before two lovers' lips meet. The sweetness of the warmth of the sun on your naked body. And the awe of the night sky filled with endless stars. It's the same force that created galaxies into existence. And the same force that allows us to turn our gaze towards beauty. It's the whole power that brought us into being, the power that keeps the oceans moving in tide, the seasons turning. It's the Shakti of the universe. It's wild, it's holy, it's untamed, and she moves through you as you. Kāma is not the enemy of the spiritual path. It is the spiritual path. It's the invitation to live the path with your whole body, your whole heart, and your whole soul. Not someday when life perfect. But now, in the midst of the mess, in the midst of the chaos, in the midst of the challenge, and in the midst of the wonder and the beauty and the divine mystery. To honor Kāma is to say yes to life itself, to remember that joy is not a luxury. It's the doorway through which the divine enters. It is our dharma, our responsibility to God to love life. God created this beautiful playground called Earth for us to enjoy. By not enjoying, we're denying God. By you not embracing your fully open, liberated self, you're denying God. It is the fragrance of the soul of the universe. It's the soul remembering of its own source. So let us walk forward from here, not shrinking from our desires, not hiding from our pleasure, sanctifying them, infusing them with awareness, with devotion, with surrender, and with love until they lead us back to the truth that we were never separate. We were never separate from ourselves. We were never separate from the beloved. We were never separate from the universe. It's all one. This is the path of Kāma, to taste the sweetness, the sweet devotion of life so fully, so consciously, that every sigh, and every touch, and every breath, every inhalation, every exhalation becomes an altar to the infinite. It becomes an offering to the altar of the infinite. It's the altar and it's the offering. We are the creator and the created. May we live it. May we embody it. May we fully be it. Because Om Tat Sat, we are that. Dear ones, beloved friends, we are not just in the dance of Shiva and Shakti. We are the dance. And in Africa, there's a saying, if you have feet and can walk, you can dance. And you have a voice and you can talk, you can sing. And a day without dance and a day without song is a day without the creator, because it's a day without yourself. So here is to dancing and singing and romancing and blissing through all of life. No matter how difficult, no matter how successful, how much failure, we have that bliss within us at every moment. It's one breath away. It's one inhalation. It's one exhalation. It's one sunrise. It's one sunset. It's one kiss. It's one gentle touch on your arm by the branch of a tree. It's walking barefoot in the sand and the water creeping between your toes. It's every smell of the food cooking on the kitchen stove, of the night blooming jasmine, of the song of the bird at sunrise. It's everything we smell, touch, taste, hear, and see. Embody it, love it, live it, and live an awakened life filled with joy. And when you do that, you give others permission to do the same. And one joyful moment after another, we can free ourselves and free the world from all suffering and misery. Until next time, please fill your heart with joy and gratitude and love and express it in everything you do. And may your life be filled with yourself, with the self that is the radiance of creation. Namaste.